You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AfterBuzz TV's Vegas After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Vegas After Show.
It's hot.
Hey, AfterBuzzers, how you guys doing this evening? Bingers for doing, and this evening we're doing the second week of CBS's Vegas first season. I'm your host, Thaddeus Massey, and I'm joined here with three intellectually smart gentlemen. Starting with, to my left,
Bamm Ericsen.
And Nick Perdue.
And Alex Salem.
Yes, so, like Sir Richard Wentworth said in the intro, you can call in if you have anything you want to say. We can get you in live, 424-256-1729, 424-256-1729. We're going to jump right into this episode from the first week.
Let's do it.
What did you guys think of the intro and the segue from last week to this week? Bam.
I'm still tripping off of, why are you talking like this?
Okay, so what you guys do not know is that I'm on my third can of Coca-Cola right now.
And he's still standing. He's still standing.
And now we know that.
Right. So, yeah, let's go.
Gotcha.
Last week to this week. Segue. Bam, go.
Great episode.
The intro. So we're still on the whodunit thing from last week. We saw the murder of the governor's niece, Sue Mead, who was murdered by one of the employees of the Savoy Hotel. Perrin, right, who was one of Savino's inherited employees. You know, he really didn't know or have anything
Now,
to do with
do
this,
we have any kind of gauge of how many employees or how much of the operation he inherited? How much of it was, you said inherited employees. Was that most of what happened when Savino came in? Do we know that?
Well, actually, it was going on before Savino got there.
Right.
So he came in the midst of this guy already doing what he was doing. Remember in the first, he had his first staff meeting in the accounting department. And he went in there and he said, you guys, you know.
If you're a part of this, leave now and never look back.
Right.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well,
Alex.
I was going to say is how interesting it is to see the parallels between Savino and Lamb right off the bat, because right before that accounting scene, he walks in and he teaches that valet a thing or two. He says, when you never look at the tip, you keep direct eye contact with the customer, which shows us he's already trying to reestablish. He's like, hey, no, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm in town now. This is how I'm going to do it. Which is the exact same thing Lamb is doing in the very beginning. He is not going to take the charity at that diner when the waitress offers him free coffee because he's got the badge.
$1.
$1.
Yeah.
This was 1960. That was like $5.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was like a Starbucks at
Or
the time.
$6.
But he got a whole breakfast, though. He didn't just get coffee. He got a whole breakfast.
So he had to go breakfast for $1.
So like $12.
Well, I mean, at Norm's, you can go to Norm's right now and get a full breakfast for like $2.99. It's $20.12, right?
Let's go right now. What are we doing?
But I think the point
Bigger, better breakfast.
the point that he's trying to make, that being that it was 1960, $1 was worth, you can get a lot in $1.
Yeah.
The amount of $1.
Yeah.
That's true.
And Lamb's cleaning up a lot of other things too, as we see throughout the episode. He's saying, "Well, that might be great for Sheriff Clyde, but that's not what I'm doing."
Right, and you made a good point, Alex, and that made me think of what we talked about in the preview episode about thinking that how they're going to establish and do things and make points about the old school and the new school, and it kind of brings in the whole like, okay, when he stopped and he told what was it, the valet, or was he like he told him, he said, look the guy in the eye when you're taking a tip. That's exactly how the best service is in Vegas now, or any 5-star hotel you go to. They say thank you, they look you in the eye, and so it kind of makes you think, well, this is kind of the foundation of how a lot of the service criteria was set up.
Right, and also when we discuss Mia and Savino, we'll also talk about the whole issue with the hit on 17. Also sets up what we do today in 2012 as well.
True,
So,
true, man.
good point.
Let's go to what is going on, Nick. What's going on as far as the whodunit right now for this episode?
Someone else got killed. That's basically what happened. There was a illegal backdoor card game going on, right? And guys just trying to make some extra money. And then one of the dealers who was making a little extra money on the side getting chipped off. Right. As you can say, that's a little pun.
That was cute, Nicholas. That was cute.
Getting chipped off, by some of these players, ends up dead. And so now it's the who done it, who killed this dealer, and why it was this lady in the trunk of this car in the garage.
Right. What I find interesting is, well, first of all, when they show up on the scene, how the guy got killed. It's like he was strangled and he was shot in the head. It's like, wow, someone really, it was like almost vendetta-ish.
Make sure he was dead.
Or it was like just a really bad job at cleaning up evidence or something. I mean, it was the rope, they'd been tied up, like that was to tie up his hands, but you see the rope and you thought, like, why does he need the rope? And then there's the blood everywhere and the gunshot. And,
Right.
Real messy. It was just real messy.
That's
what it was.
Poor form.
It was. And I liked, go ahead, Bamm.
But again, 1960, 2012, you do certain things, and that was what was appropriate for that time. Just like when Savino's character, when he goes and hits the fire, he's out there in broad daylight or at nighttime, and he hits it, and so there's things that it doesn't make sense to us, but we have to remember that this is 1960, and so the way we think, they don't think that way because it's
more caveman.
And that, Bamm, is like one of the things I absolutely love about it, is because of the difference of time period. We get stuff like somebody got killed again. It's another whodunit. We're going to expect a detective storyline in every episode. But, I mean, see the guys on Law and Order or CSI or whatever go and just be like, I need to commandeer your broom, and just start beating the heck out of some thief in the middle of an interrogation.
That was great, though. That was a great scene. the jeweler thief.
Rancher justice.
Exactly.
Set up the scene really quickly.
Go ahead, Nick.
So the robber, right? Because like this is right after Dennis Quaid's car. I don't have the
Ralph Lamb.
There you go. Leaves the diner, and so he meets up with his brother, and then he sees this guy who walks past him, right? Kind of gives him the shoulder, right? Edges past him. He notices that about 4 or 5 cigarettes on the ground. Walks into this jeweler, turns the shades and like brandishes a weapon as the door's closing, right? Goes in.
Pretty shady.
It is. I mean, but again, this is 1960, right? And then so Lamb, commandeers, like I said, this broom, shows his badge and says, "I'll be back." Goes across the street.
And he also says, "Won't be long."
Yeah. And then goes across the street and then, waits for the guy to come out and really just kind of Babe Ruths him from the kneecaps and just knocks him out.
Now, personally, I think that they stole that from Coming to America when Sam Jackson went into McDowell's and was robbing McDowell's, and Eddie Murphy's character, Prince Akeem, took the same broomstick, unscrewed it, and beat Samuel Jackson's butt.
We ought to talk to Pileggi about this.
And it was a shotgun that the perpetrator was same shotgun.
See?
Pileggi did. Pileggi, we're on to you. That was a great. I seen that.
Great remix.
I thought it was great remix. But Alex, I thought you made a great point about you made a point. That's the Coca-Cola. Dang it. Okay.
It's good.
I'm gonna come back to it. I'll remember in a minute.
Was it in reference to the time?
it was a reference to the time, but I did make a point regarding the valet already, but it was regarding something else. What you just mentioned something.
I just was talking about how in these detective storylines, the show.
Oh, I remember. I remembered. So yeah, we're talking about how they came upon the scene, and he was saying, you know, he noticed something. I can't remember exactly what Ralph Lamb noticed, but it has something to do with the effect that the crime scene had already been tampered with.
It was the rope on the ground next to the body, and he immediately turns to Jack, his brother, and says, "Did the deputy untie the victim? Some other deputy not with them had."
Exactly. And what you were mentioning about the times and how the times were a little different.
Yeah.
It leads me to believe that was partially the time, and secondly that the town was already corrupt. Obviously, that we saw with the last sheriff. So
and the DA.
It leads to it leads me to believe that there are cops that have habits that are not quite.
They don't even think about it.
They don't think about the things that they're doing. So there might be other people that are still the people that are still in
the old ways,
on the old ways, especially if the DA is crooked. I'm sure there's cops that are crooked as well, and then we can really only depend on Ralph Lamb and his brother and Don and
Rancher Justice
and Rancher Justice and Jacob Black's dad, who's out of the wheelchair and healed whenever he decides to make a cameo appearance. From Twilight.
But no, see, but
okay. You lost me for a minute.
I have to say though that when they said that the deputy untied the body, I thought that was going to lead into something, but that it really didn't go anywhere.
It was just an establishment of the time. I see how you can think that.
Yeah, I thought that it was going to be a little more, but that threw me off. So
right.
Nicholas Pileggi, you got me there.
Nicholas, I think that might have been a Walker move right there. Greg Walker, Texas Ranger.
Greg Walker.
I
thought you were going to say,
Cordell
look, Coming to America, Walker, Texas Ranger. He's not getting these ideas himself, obviously.
It's the Coca-Cola.
Clearly.
I have to be specific and say Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Can't you say soda?
I could.
Or brown soda?
I say brown soda.
Because it's not like Sprite or something.
Or we can say next topic.
Speaking of being hyped up, what you do need to be hyped up about is going on iTunes and of course rating Vegas, rating us, commenting, liking, and if you don't have a iTunes, what is that, profile, you just go on there and make it. It's free. You can go on there, make it, rate it, rate this podcast. And like I know Brian was telling us last week that you can put everything in order, all your AfterBuzz, your favorite AfterBuzz shows, it'll put it in order for you. I said Brian, what I call you?
You call me Bamm. He's just on Coke.
Yeah, that's
Cola right now. So he can't quite hear.
He has an extra in his ear.
And that is Club Thaddeus, at Club Thaddeus on Twitter.
See? Tell your friends to like and comment as well. Takes a minute.
iTunes. Thanks, guys. Yeah, we love that you guys rate and comment on us and our podcast on
Throw something down. We'll respond. We'll talk about it on air if you got something you wanna bring up.
Exactly.
In fact, if I may, real quick, we had a comment that I wanted to address from our YouTube page.
Okay.
And that was a person by the name of Kineas Red wrote on our last week's episode, "Guys love the show, but need to be a little tighter with the details of the show. They mentioned clearly when the son was running out of the house of his girlfriend that the man was her husband, as the younger brother admitted that he knew that the son was messing around with a married woman and chose not to inform Ralph." Very good point, Kineas.
I did, in fact, know that, but I decided not to correct the...
It was me. I made the mistake.
See how we are? We keep it real. You know what I'm saying? We keep it real over here about Vegas. We decided to go ahead and say who messed up, and we don't care. Just keep correcting us. In fact, Kineas, you can call us at 424-256-1729 if you want to talk. You can join the panel. Anyway, we're going to move on into the new girl.
Yes.
The new hotness.
The breath of fresh air.
New hotness.
The breath of...
giving Carrie-Anne a little relief. Mia rolls up to the driveway of the Savoy. Nobody knows who it is. She hops out. So Savino looks at her and says, Mia.
Mia.
Okay, so after he had this meeting about the whole parent thing and who was involved with the murder and who was involved with
A manager takes off.
The manager takes off, and the 2 other guys take off. They knew they were gambling with their lives if they decided to stay because they were going to figure it out anyway. So they bounced. It was like half the staff.
But do you think that there were other workers who,
of course,
who was involved and chose not to stay, hoping that they don't get caught later on?
No, I think they were really. I think they would be really stupid. They would be gambling with their lives right there on the spot. They would know if the top gets found out, and then the top in the room get found out. The other guys that had nothing to do with it stayed. The guys who had something to do with it bounced.
Okay.
There was only 3 guys left in the room.
I think one person stayed because like if you kind of watch, there was one person in the background who was a little shifty, and he was kind of like, oh, let me kind of see, I don't know, but I think one person stayed.
Now, it's possible that there was the gentleman having a cigarette right when Savino marches into the room, and they did show him just sort of like putting it down and being like, oh, shoot, Savino's here. That guy might be the nervous guy you're talking about. I feel like anybody involved took off. Now, does that mean they're free? Does that mean they really have a free pass? Like, they're really, like, they skip town and they're really going to make...
shot on the way out. That's what I thought was going to happen.
I didn't think so. And the reason why is because... Do you have something you were going to say, Bam?
I do think they have a free pass. They're gone.
Yeah.
And they have these characters. They don't have names. Who are they? They're gone.
Right.
We got too much other plot to deal with.
And Savino is here. He's ready to like clean house and just start fresh. And that's what he wants to do. He doesn't really want to inherit as many problems. He just wants to clean up and start fresh.
Start corrupting his way.
Exactly. So now that the manager is adios, and actually he's in lockup. Perrin, he's locked up for the murder. We have Mia,
played by Sarah Jones.
Carrie-Anne Moss and Sarah Jones. Okay, so she's playing Mia, who is the boss from Chicago's daughter. Come to find out that him, who was the boss, Mia's dad, and Savino go way back. And she brought up some old stuff about how they gambled on the Bears and Packers game back in the day, blah, blah, blah. They're really good buddies.
Savino says, I'd never figured you for the business. And she says, well, her dad always wanted a son, so she raised her like a son. And so she's this sharp as a tack.
Well, yeah, and she went to school for it, too.
Yeah.
She went to Wharton Business School. Wharton? That's like one of the top business schools in the country. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. So obviously,
well, when your dad has mob money, you can go to any school you want to.
There's probably a dorm that says Mia's dorm on it because he donated so much money.
Yeah.
That was the most creative name they could come up with.
I don't know her last name. What is it? Chicago mob boss's daughter's dorm.
Let me see.
That wasn't funny. Okay,
anyway. More specific.
Right. Okay, so go ahead, Bam.
So now that Mia's here, and so Mia Rizzo. And so now that Mia's here, Mia gets right down to business, and so she sees the blackjack table, and she notices a couple of things, and so she goes back to Savino, and she suggests that they change the ruling on the 17. On the
soft 17.
On the soft 17, that the dealer, I thought it was soft or hard?
Soft. Meaning with the ace.
Okay.
They're already practicing the soft. So she thought they should go hard, correct? Hard 17? Her suggestion was to go hard.
Yeah.
As opposed to they were already practicing a soft 17.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was interesting how she came into the accounting room when she first gets there.
Right. Yes, that is.
You remember this?
She talks about the scale.
Exactly. Go ahead and explain, Alex.
What happens is they have their scale and they're always weighing the money. And she walks up, immediately knows what's going on, and she's explaining. Now we're supposed to dial it back. I think 10%.
Correct.
10 pounds. Because that's
10%. You're right the first time. Yeah,
10%. Because that's what they can cook the books that way, because that's what they skim off to send back home. And she knows immediately. She says, excuse me, I weighed myself this morning. Vanity, I know. She weighs 116 pounds, and then it weighed like 99. So she immediately calculated that it was 14%.
Right.
Scaled back, which means someone was skimming their skim.
Skimming the skim. Now I thought this was great, Casino Pileggi Walker fashion because Joe Pesci and De Niro were dealing with this whole thing, which is why Nicky Santoro got sent out to Vegas to begin with. If any of you guys know Casino, that whole thing where he went to crack down because someone was skimming the skim. You can't take from what's getting taken from. You know what's really funny about this whole honor amongst thieves thing is like, look, you don't rob the robbers. Like, you know, we went into this whole thing together. You're gonna rob me. It's like we do a heist together, and then you rob.
You're gonna rob me.
Exactly. Remember that movie with Martin Lawrence called what was it? Blue Street. Blue Street.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember the beginning of the movie? The whole thing was about him finding this diamond, and he had to get back into the police station where he stashed the diamond at a police station that wasn't a police station yet because they were still constructing it when he got busted. But his buddy had tried to rob him. His buddy that he had done the robbery with had tried to rob him. That's skimming the skim, ladies and gentlemen. You know what skimming the skim is.
Or like the Joker at the beginning of The Dark Knight.
Yeah, well,
stealing from the mom.
Exactly.
There's a code of ethics even when you're unethical, which is still kind of interesting, you know, and you can really kind of see like it's the construction of really how like the mob really kind of enforces everything and really says even though we're shady, we're still shady with like ethics, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's the question, it's the issue. We're seeing progress here with Savino and the mafia.
True. I had to reflect for 2 milliseconds.
Thaddeus reflecting.
I had to reflect on that. Well, on to the DA and Savino. We really have a clear. I mean, we already saw from the first episode that when the DA showed up, to meet the former sheriff. And then Savino shows up, and then of course, when they find him later, he's dead. We know that the DA is obviously in cahoots with the mob family or whatever, or Savino. But he was already in cahoots before Savino got there, obviously, because he was part of the bigger picture. The bigger picture, exactly. So now we actually get more from the DA as far as this case is concerned, and now he's actually compromised. Well, not completely compromised, but he is in such a way he has to control the situation because he's working directly with the ADA and he's working directly with Ralph Lamb as far as this parent case is concerned and protecting the family and prosecuting this case.
He's like Matt Damon in The Departed. He's got
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, I've got to not do really good at my legit job because I've got my
side hustle
cahoots job. Yeah.
It would have actually been better for him if he was the assistant DA instead of the DA.
Actual DA.
You're right, because then he could actually probably do some more covert dealings. You know, being the DA and being on top of something that's such a major case. Being the governor's niece. That's a major case.
He's got more control as the DA, but he's got more responsibilities. He was saying he can't just throw this case with Perrin because that maid is such a great witness, such a piece of evidence.
Right.
So how do they handle that, Thaddeus?
Speaking of the maid, Alex, right?
Speaking of the maid, I thought it was great.
That was a great scene.
Yeah, they're like,
that was a real good scene.
Savino was like, he said, take care of the maid. So you think that, oh my gosh, the maid is probably going to end up in a shallow grave in the desert somewhere.
Yeah, dead somewhere.
Next thing you know, they cut to, she's like, oh, we're going on vacation. And she's got she's toting her 2 kids along.
Bobby Darin's Beyond the Sea is playing in the background.
Right. They've got the rubber ducky in the station wagon, and she's loading up. And in fact, one of his heavies actually gives her extra cash.
Money. Yeah.
So it was like,
to kind of extend her stay, to make sure that she doesn't interfere with anything.
Right.
And she has no clue. She's just excited. Oh, I'm going to take a trip, and she's driving to Florida.
Is that where she was going?
Yeah, Florida.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. So yeah, she's gonna go catch some rays in the sun.
Yeah.
I would drop the kids off somewhere.
Where's she gonna stay? Is she gonna find a hotel in between? I mean, you can't.
That's
that whole drive one day.
That's.
But
I think these are important questions.
TV magic. That's the beauty of TV magic.
That's what the extra cash was for.
But that's what the extra cash was for. It's 1960. They probably gave her a couple $100. She can go a long time.
Yeah.
With that
at least a month
money. At least for 1960.
She can go a long time. Like AfterBuzz goes a long time with all the shows they cover.
Yeah. So
Layup.
All right. Okay. Good job. Well, with that being said, now we do have the new TV fall lineup is here, and so there's a lot of great shows that are on AfterBuzz that we are covering, and we have such great shows as Castle, Homeland, this show Vegas, Scandal, The X Factor, The Voice. There's so many shows. We actually recap over 50 shows a week. So please go to AfterBuzzTV.com and you could watch all the shows on either iTunes or video from our YouTube. But we have plenty of shows. We have a great schedule. We have shows from Sunday through Friday, or Sunday through Thursday.
Yeah.
And we have over 50 shows. So make sure you check out some of the new hot shows for the new fall lineup.
Catch me on Homeland Sundays. I just thought I'd throw that in
on
there.
AfterBuzz Homeland.
On AfterBuzz.
For a minute, I was like, I would love to.
AfterBuzz. Exactly. I would love to be on that show. Man. Even if they were just killing me off, like, oh, he died in 2 seconds. He was an ass. Anyway, yeah, I thought that's great. I love the fact that we cover so many shows. We cover like pretty much everything.
We do from TV to reality to wrestling, old school and new school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Doctor Who.
Yeah, I was gonna say
British sci-fi.
Doctor Who and
Bam, you do Scandal too, right?
I do Scandal. You
do Scandal and LA Well, you did LA Complex. You guys just finished with that.
We finished with that. I do Castle.
And you do Castle.
Yeah.
This guy.
How do you
Working.
When do you sleep, man?
This is he's on vacation with us. This is his
He
vacation.
sleeps here.
And I know someone else as well. But and then there's reality shows such as that. Here comes Honey Boo Boo.
Here she comes.
Honey Boo Boo. Dorito flavored Honey Boo Boo. Yeah. Honey Boo Boo flavored Doritos have just come out in your liquor store.
I want to see the Honey Boo Boo dolls because I know those are coming for Christmas. People are gonna want their Honey Boo Boo dolls, and it's gonna be amazing.
The new Cabbage
Patch, little drawstring, and
that I would love to see. Thaddeus was working on the Doritos Honey Boo Boo bit before the show. I still don't think it's landed, but you keep working on it.
Come on, Doritos, Cheetos, one of you guys, Lay's. You guys got a bunch of chips. Just do it. Honey Boo Boo flavored. They'll love it in the hood. Anyway.
Well, enough about Here Comes Honey Boo Boo.
Back to Vegas.
Let's go back to Vegas.
Back to Vegas. Let's go back to you were talking about Mia earlier, Bam, and you were talking about her introduction and how she came in and she weighed herself on the scale and the hard 17. So what happened when she noticed how the Savoy was operating on the blackjack table and she brought it to Savino's attention? That's what I said.
Savino was really not keen on the idea. He wanted to kind of keep it that particular way, and then of course someone came into his office so he couldn't really have the discussion, but you could tell that was not something that he agreed with, so he kind of just pushed her to the side, but she kind of felt that way. But it's interesting to think back in 1960, if the dealers would be able to hit on a hard 17, just think about the dynamics and what it would do now in 2012. Because Mia's whole objective was that they can make more money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's already the cards already favor the dealer already.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you got to really count cards and you have to really know things. So just imagine had that rule been changed in 1960, would Vegas be what it is? Would people
be a lot less blackjack players right now? I can tell you that.
Here's the thing, and this is the reason why it got shut down as far as Savino was concerned, was because they were losing money. Mm-hmm. And he said he had tried it already. I mean, she's a kid fresh out of business school, and she's ambitious and zealous and wants to get things going so she can make a name for herself, obviously. So she, did the math as far as, at the rate that people gamble, the amount that they gamble, at the rate that they gamble, if we change that procedure and go from soft 17 to hard 17, they will make, 0.018% more.
0.183.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Good job, Alex.
Right.
I knew it was an 8 in there somewhere. Mm-hmm. And it was a point in the 8 somewhere. Yeah. But that would equal to hundreds of thousands, even though it was just a small fraction, it would equal to way more money. And she was right. Now what Savino, she didn't know that would detract customers from coming, the big time customers who are the regulars would
Which
bounce.
And tell me if you guys think this is just this was the 60s thing. That seems obvious to me. As far as I've understood Vegas, the fact that the house always wins, and most people and everybody pretty much knows that, but you still got those little things like that where the player feels like they've got a fighting chance, is part of the whole setup. It's part of how it was all originally designed. So I want to say I feel like if Mia just even thought about that a little bit more, like even
but she wouldn't think about that because she's straight out of school. Savino has the experience. She has the brains, the book smarts, because she's been in school, and so she's more educated on what she think is going on in that particular time. So she has all these great ideas, and sometimes it's a great idea, but you can't beat experience. Someone who's lived it and gone through it, sometimes you just can't beat that. And so she couldn't beat his experience. She has ambition and drive, and I'm sure when Savino was younger, he had that same passion and drive. And so there were things that he probably did that he learned from his mistakes. So rather than let her do this and let her make mistakes, he's going to advise her that it's not the thing to do, because basically what he's saying is that he's been there, he's done it.
Yeah.
Fun fact for you guys. You ready for this one?
We got Nick's fun fact.
You ready for this one?
We're ready.
So actually, blackjack, craps, and baccarat are the 3 games that the players have the best advantage against the casino. And roulette is like, I think it's like the worst game. Like casino has like the advantage is like 18%, something like super high. But so actually, if you are a blackjack player, you should play blackjack.
That's a.
If you are a blackjack player.
If you're a blackjack player, you should play blackjack.
and quote of the week.
I'm sure everybody at home is like, thanks, Nick.
you have the player has the most advantage in those 3 games than any other.
Baccarat, craps, and blackjack.
But then poker is you're playing against other people, so that's a whole separate thing. But you're talking about over roulette or over slots. Yeah,
over all the other games in the casino. Like the best player advantage is with baccarat, blackjack, and what I say?
Fun fact.
Craps.
Is that how you pronounce it? Baccarat?
Baccarat.
Baccarat?
Maybe.
I'm messing it up.
Is it? Baccarat. It's not baccarat. Don't say baccarat. I'm going to say it obviously wrong because that's how it looks out. I don't gamble. So, Alex was about to make a point and expound upon what Bamm was saying regarding the Hard 17 and how Savino was saying how he had made that mistake before.
He was talking about a casino he was running. I think, was he talking about back in Chicago? He said back in the...
I'm assuming Chicago, yeah.
Because he said, I know because I've
tried
done
it before. I know because I've done it, and we bled cash.
Right.
That's how, because everybody, the Stooges stay, but anybody, real players, anybody who knows anything will see the obvious advantage, be gone in a couple of weeks, and 6-figure losses.
And again, it goes back to both Lamb and Savino's character about how they're all about business and restructuring and making things that, you take care of your people. So it's more important to take care of the people that constantly comes back versus people who are just gonna come because I think I can get a quick fix. There's no guarantee that these customers and these people are going to come all the time. So just like when Savino was speaking to the guy, the valet guy, he was telling him from experience, never look down when you take your tip. You always want to be friendly. And so he knows what he's talking about, basically.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting. That plays into what we're talking about the honor among thieves, about having the ethics when you're the bad guys. As we're seeing these parallels between Lamb and Savino. They're both trying to not be short-sighted, I guess what you could say. Telling Mia that it's an ambitious idea, but it's not ultimately gonna help out at all. It's ultimately gonna be detrimental. They take the hard way. And Lamb is all about that. He's saying, no, I don't need your charity just because I'm the sheriff. And no, we're not gonna compromise at all. Nobody's gonna be making any deals. I'm committed to finding out the truth. And so when you see Savino doing the same things, like saying, no, we need to be the best, we need to have the best customer service, we need to have the smartest business plan, or look out for the long term in our business plan, it makes it for a very intriguing dynamic between our hero and our villain.
Right.
Yeah.
And we don't see them in a lot of scenes together. And in this particular episode, it was probably toward the 20-minute mark when the two of them finally had met in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Right, and they had met while Lamb was following the breadcrumbs on this new murder mystery that he was looking to solve, and it seemed to lead right back to the Savoy. For me, the Lamb storyline for me was it was there for the sake of having a reason to clash or having a reason to kind of bump heads with Savino again, as opposed to it really being significant.
But it is somewhat. To me, I feel it's somewhat significant because each week. This is telling the story of what goes on in Vegas by him being the new sheriff in town. Like, first of all, the city doesn't even recognize that he's a new sheriff because when he was with the Sarpong guy,
Oh, that's right.
He was every time that he's done something, he's always been disregarded. No one even knows he's a new sheriff in town. So his character is really important right now because no one knows he's a sheriff. No one knows that he and his three brothers are basically, they are. They're the cops,
crew.
They're the wrecking crews. They're the cops, so no one knows that. So he has to establish himself as this new sheriff in town, and the mafia and all the bad guys, they don't really know that yet. So when he approaches them, they basically think of him as a joke, which is why Sarpong, took the glass and broke it in his face.
Yeah.
And then of course Quaid, has to come and let him know, like, I'm the man, and I'm gonna beat your ass.
Taking names.
He does the same thing with the gentleman who we find out is later working for Savino to go infiltrate in the jail. But I mean, the younger brother, Dixon Lamb, he's got his car just parked out right in the middle of the street there, and I feel like somebody comes up, starts arguing with him. You don't know he's the cop.
Right.
Yeah, they don't seem to know that.
But again, this is 1960s. This is not social media where when something happens, it's posted and blasted. Like, I think it's going to take time in this particular city. But then again, you would think.
But the guy ran into a cop car.
No, well, because remember, he was trying to get into jail, so
So that was a bad example.
Yeah.
I'll admit. Lamb says it's only been a couple of weeks though, like tops, since they started in the last episode.
He was trying to get into jail, Nick, but it was an accident that he ended up in jail that way. I don't think he was trying to go to jail like that. That wasn't his plan. I think he got into an accident.
I think that was.
I think that was his plan.
That was his plan.
That was way too coincidental.
Because he reared into a cop car, so he knew what he was doing.
Okay.
Yeah, cause like that was blatant. I mean, I see what you're saying, Thaddeus, but that was blatant. He was, I'm going to jail.
Okay.
Because he was going to be the inside man to take care of parents.
Now, we didn't actually discuss why Savino and his boy needed to have parent taken care of.
They tried like 3 different times or something.
No, but why?
Because the feds,
exactly.
They said, okay, we're coming in, and they wanted to get some information.
You're out of your jurisdiction.
Exactly. Yeah.
That was funny.
And then so they were gonna cut a deal with Parent.
Right.
And so I know Perrin's lawyer said, if you keep him out of the gas chamber, he'll tell you how Savino, operates his entire organization and, the behind the scenes stuff and the closed door conversations, this and that, and everything that could really take him down.
Right.
So, when Savino heard this, he was like, okay, we need something to happen.
We need to take care of this because it almost made him like he was untouchable. Like they weren't going to let him go. He made a deal just so he wouldn't get gassed, but he would still be locked up. So they weren't going to let him go. That wasn't going to fly. The deal was like, there's no way I can let this guy go. Like, how do you want me to let him go so we can just take care of him? We can't do that. So obviously he's.
Although, but if you think about it, like the DA almost could have just let him go and then could have had Gotti's crew take care of him.
Stop. From Jersey? From Jersey?
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, you can't let him go and it's like, this is the murder case of the governor's niece, and you're going to let him walk? It's not going to happen. Then he would just be saying, I'm corrupt. Hi, I'm the DA, and I'm corrupt. Brown paper bag, please.
1960.
Yeah, but it would have been too obvious. There's no way he could just let him walk like that. He had to finagle. But one thing they didn't count on was the feds coming in and cutting that deal.
I was a surprise.
Yeah, so that surprised everybody. But it, much to the chagrin of the DA, who obviously was trying to protect Savino and his boys and the whole operation.
So the DA couldn't swing it. He tried to get in. They couldn't take care of it. So they. What's the gentleman's name? Savino's sort of right hand guy.
Yeah, what is his guy's name?
I think it's Red. I want to say it's Red something.
Skeleton.
Really quick.
Red Skeleton.
Fox.
Actually, this is the thing about Red Skeleton.
Red Skeleton.
There's no
Red. Yeah, Anthony Red Cervelli.
Oh, I know it's not skeleton. It's skeleton.
Right.
Right.
I learned that only recently.
Oh, gotcha.
So I was pointing it out.
Yeah, I was dating myself.
So,
Red Cervelli says, "Hey, let me just take care of this. How about you just let me take care of it?" So they've got their guy Nicholas Cota, who turns out to be the guy who bumps into Dixon Lamb's cop car, and he goes into jail. Now, before we get to that, though,
that was a great scene, actually.
That was
a great scene.
Before we get to what happens when Nicholas Cota is in jail, I want to talk about Thaddeus's reaction to when they're at the police station. They're talking about you still got to pay for that cop car. Whose responsibility was it? You took it out. You were driving it. Whose responsibility is it? And this girl comes up to tell him. And what do you say, Thaddeus?
Wait, the girl what?
The girl in the police station that we've never seen before.
Yeah, this girl. And you know what's funny? I'm completely in the scene. Now, I'm like thinking it's 1960. Where did this racially ambiguous looking girl come from? And what kind of job does she have? And how come she's not like mopping floors or doing something that a racially ambiguous person would be doing in 1960?
I thought the same thing. I just didn't say it.
Okay, well then there you go.
But
so it wasn't just me.
But it's Vegas.
But that completely took. I mean,
did that take you out of the?
It kind of took me out. I was like, how does she and why does she have this important position in the station? She was actually flexing on him, saying he's have to pay the bill.
We will see her again.
We will see her again.
Previous.
And maybe she'll be a love interest of the youngster, the Lamb youngster. We shall see. She was kind of cute.
She was, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, her name is Amy Garcia. We've been seeing her name.
She is Latin. Garcia.
There you go.
Latina.
We've been seeing her in the opening credits.
Okay.
Credit roll thus far. So yes.
Yeah.
Regular character.
Yeah, I thought it was good. But you know what? Nick made a great excuse for me. He said, there's Vegas. Everything is on fast forward there. They're advanced.
Prostitution. That's all I got to say. It's Vegas, Nevada.
Everything is feature forward.
Prostitution.
Prostitution. I have no idea what that has to do with prostitution. But
because that's like one of the only states that,
the Bunny Ranch.
That they can do. Is it
Bunny Ranch?
The only?
I think it's like that state and another state. I have to check on that. And
we're gonna do a little research.
There's also State Street in South Central, like right between 108th and Vermont and then Broadway. State Street. Legal prostitution. It just looked like 3 blocks, you know what I'm saying?
In between 108th and Broadway. I just wanted to make sure I got that.
From the hours of 1:15 to 1:17.
From the hours of 1:15 to 1:17.
You gotta get it in, and then you gotta drive off.
You gotta get it. But back to
no
Vegas.
more Coca-Cola for you.
Okay, so let's talk about how Mia reacted when Savino kind of scolded her. He was a little perturbed for the fact that she went and called Daddy back in Chicago and was like, I think, Daddy, that we should go ahead and charge. And he was actually trying to. What was the outcome of that? Was he deciding to go ahead and?
He didn't have a choice.
He didn't have a choice.
They had to do it.
They had to do it. So. Even though he scolded her and she was like, I'm sorry, he's like, I thought our agreement was you're going to do the accounting, I run the casino. And she says, she basically said, my bad to a certain degree.
Right.
She says, pretty much I'll fall in line. But is it really like, does she really feel like that? I mean, her dad is the boss. So does she really feel like, plus they're going to actually implement her suggestion.
It's already being done.
Right.
Yeah.
Does she realize it's going to be a mistake? Like, does she?
No, she doesn't realize it's a mistake because she's young and she's, ambitious. And so she's not thinking.
Hubris.
Was her apology sincere? I mean, it wasn't a really apology, but it was like.
It was just like.
It wasn't my bad.
It was like, all right, you're chewing me out right now.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, I accept my responsibility. I'm the accountant, and I don't respect your decision, but you're the boss here, and so I guess I won't call my dad anymore.
I feel it's like she says, I accept it for now, and there's gonna be like other things that you'll see come up where she'll, Daddy, I need da 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 da.
Well,
we'll see.
This is what I'm gonna say. We need a love story in there somewhere, so maybe we'll see. We'll talk about that later in predictions, but Savino doesn't have anybody as far as I see.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Maybe he has everybody.
So
he runs a show.
Showgirls, you never know.
That's true.
You know?
Maybe he'll have a Sharon Stone.
Hopefully not a current Sharon Stone.
Wait a minute. I'll take a current Sharon Stone.
Well, he's no spring chicken either, so.
But he's running a casino. When you're running a casino in Vegas in 1960, you have your pick of the litter.
You know, one thing that Bamm mentioned earlier, who was it, Bamm, or who was it mentioned about how weird it was when Savino and Red were in the middle of the street and Savino has the sledgehammer.
Oh, Bamm mentioned that. Yeah.
Okay, Bamm did mention that. And he is, what was he doing, Bamm, with the sledgehammer again?
He was hitting the fire hydrant so that the fire hydrant can be set off.
Okay, and
now that led to why did he do that? How about that?
Well, first off, what I thought he was going to do before Bamm says what he did or what he was doing, I thought he was about to, I was like, oh, he's putting some work in. He's going to go knock in the wall of a jewelry store or do something, pull some kind of heist. That's what I thought he was going to smash a wall in or something. And they were, I don't know, that's what I thought. I thought they were actually doing, but it was actually something subtle that led to the big picture or something else, which was really cool. Bamm.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened.
Well, yeah, well,
what did it lead to, Nick?
He hit the fire hydrant, right? So the fire hydrant went off, and and actually, which is actually like really gangster, if you would, of him, is they did it right across the street from the police station or from the jail where Perrin was being held, right? And then because they knew that the FBI was gonna
transport
federal was gonna transport him and take him into custody and all that, so they needed an exit strategy to tie up loose ends per se, and. So they, created a detour, and they set up the detour. So as Perrin was in the car with the agents, they blew it up, and they said, "That's that."
So the fire hydrant created the detour, so they knew.
Yeah, because they had, they had to fix the fire hydrant, so they blocked off the street and try to, get this running water diverted into a storm drain or whatever. And then so as Perrin was leaving the jail or the station.
They're taking him to L.A. for like protective custody or something.
Or to federal prison.
Or was it federal protective custody or federal prison?
I thought he was going to federal prison.
But he was coming to LA.
One or the other.
Yeah.
What I thought was really great is when they were going through the detour, how he said, get me out of here right before the car blew up. He was like, you're out of here. He was like, get me out of here. And then the car just blows up. I thought that was just classic. That was great writing. I don't know whose line was that. I don't know if it was Pileggi's line or Walker's line, but
could have been ad-lib.
I think Walker.
Could have been ad-lib.
It could have been ad-lib.
Walker co-wrote this app with another gentleman whose name I did not recognize.
Vegas Writes. Tweet us. Let us know.
Vegas Writers. Let us know.
That was ad lib, or that was an actual line that was written in, or
right. Back to the storyline with Lamb though. I thought it was funny when they were doing the case, when they were actually trying to get some information from the victim's girlfriend, the one they found in the trunk. How she said, "Oh, he's been getting tips so he could save up to help me buy back my ranch."
Yeah.
And it was really funny. It was that the music changed when they had their hats off and they were just looking at this cute little blonde girl, and I was like, he was trying to help me buy back my ranch.
They're suckers for ranches.
and I was like, oh my gosh. I said, anybody buy a ranch? And they got this guy. I mean, that's what Savino needs to do. He needs to go buy a ranch, and then if he gets a ranch, he will be in tight with the Lambs. That's what he should do.
But that's not his
solidarity. That's not his purpose.
That's not his purpose.
Well, all he has to do is just put a casino on it. He'd be good. Casino on the ranch.
Okay.
Wow. What an image. What an image.
Too many Cokes.
But Lamb at the end there.
I mean, he did his case. He solved it. So
He had a visitor
and
at the very end with the chips.
Yeah, he did.
Very interesting.
It was really funny how when him and Savino met in the kitchen, he said Savino told Lamb, stay out of my house. Like he kind of repeated the same line from last episode, which was another scene. And I was like, he used the same line again, stay out of my house, blah, blah, blah. But then he's, what did Lamb say, Bam? He pulls some chips out.
He pulls the chips out and he says he returns the chips to Savino, basically saying that it was from Sheriff
Clyde.
From Sheriff Clyde. What was also interesting, because I pay attention to detail, but did you notice behind Savino there was a big sign, there was a big poster that was hanging on the wall? Have you ever noticed, like when you go to certain jobs and they have the big sign of what the minimum wage is? There was
The OSHA poster?
The what?
Like the OSHA regulations?
Yes, and so behind Savino, there was the big minimum wage poster that was hanging on the wall, and the minimum wage back for 1960 was $1. And so that was on the back
Now,
of.
I'm surprised
but breakfast was $1.
Right.
I'm surprised they even had a poster of that on the wall. I thought most of those OSHA regulations was coming into play in the later 60s or early 70s. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll have to look into that further. But that's incredible.
It's great detail. Yeah, it's great. So who does that? The props department? Is that the
set design?
Yeah, set design, props.
Set design.
Yeah.
Good eye.
Yeah, and then I know, like, while we're on the props really quick, I know what Alex was saying when they were entering the house, when the Lambs brothers were entering the house while it was being burglarized. The TV was off, right?
Yes.
Or it was
Yes, the TV was off, and back in those days, TV programming actually went off air.
About midnight.
At midnight, TV would go off air, and the screen would just be
the test screen.
There would be a test screen, and so it was after midnight. So all you saw was a test screen on the television, because at midnight,
people were supposed to go to sleep.
Yeah, they
wouldn't come back on
the air
until maybe 6 a.m. I'd imagine the next morning.
That's back in the day when people went to bed at reasonable hours.
It was just
people woke up at reasonable hours. Oh, there we go,
there we go.
Federal minimum wage rate from 55 to
1960, $1.
That's it. So there you have it.
Set design. Yeah, give it. Last week it was wardrobe. This week props go to set design.
There you go.
Round of applause there.
Props go to set design.
Props go to set design.
In 1961, it went up a whole 15 cents.
You just got it.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's go on to some news gossip.
Yes, news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Bamm Ericsen.
Okay, so ratings for the premiere of Vegas did very well. They ranked 6th overall for the top 20 with 14.85 million viewers. CBS that on Tuesday night was #1 overall. You had NCIS LA, both at 8 and 9 o'clock, and then Vegas easily won the time slot over the premiere, Private Practice, and for Parenthood. So clean sweep of CBS. And then in addition to them ranking 6th overall and #1 in their time slot at 10 o'clock, they also had an additional 2.35 million viewers who DVR'd it and watched it later.
Wow.
So they were very successful.
Excellent.
Very successful. Although they said that as far as the rating is concerned, it had a 2.5 rating, and that was supposed to be the lowest for a CBS debut of a drama since Century City in 2004. I don't even remember that show.
Do you think that was a drama about Century, like literally the town in LA?
I don't know what Century City is. I don't recall it, but
it doesn't sound like it.
But
that many viewers?
But yeah, they're trying to make it seem like Because it was, I don't know. I've never heard of Century City,
That's
but I think
crazy.
14.85 million viewers plus the 2.35 for DVR. I
that's
think
like 17 million viewers.
I think it's terrific. And then also,
it's a 10 o'clock time slot too.
Right.
Also, Dennis Quaid, he hasn't appeared on TV in a TV series since 1977 on an episode of Beretta. And so that was the only time that he ever did a guest spot on TV because, of course, he's been this huge movie star.
Right.
And so they were also, the entire cast was also on CBS's The Talk this afternoon.
Oh, yes.
And so it was a nice big Vegas theme, and everyone was dressed in, the host was dressed in Vegas style clothing and
60s.
And so the
whole blackjack table that they were saying.
sort of kind of it was
shiny vest.
Yeah, it was sort of kind of like that. But one of the questions that was asked was, would Carrie-Anne Moss and Dennis Quaid's character hook up? And so they didn't say no, but they didn't say yes.
They can't.
So they played coy
say
a little bit. It was a little,
but there was a little coy. So potentially, I'm sure. I think so too. I think their characters will probably hook up.
Vegas writers.
Yeah.
I mean, what's funny about that is that you think about these are all based on real life characters, right? So you're like, is the ADA's grandkids gonna be like, you cheated on grandpa that time, you hooked up with the sheriff?
Is she married? Was she married?
I don't know.
But
I think they're both single.
Yeah, but also remember
Sure, why
that. Also remember that they have people that they're getting their story ideas from, and so because it is 2012, they probably want to change it up a little bit. There has to be some kind of sex or relationship, for us to continue to watch it because it's very geared toward men.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, this, as we've been saying, this was the 60s. We don't need to go into that part of it though.
So do you guys think the ratings will continue to stay at this level, or
I think they'll go up. I think they're gonna
go up as well.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You think Private Practice is going to take them down?
Well, no, Private Practice is not going to take it down. No. I think they'll stay consistent in the 10 o'clock slot. But with all new shows, people watch it to see what it's about. They were already familiar with Private Practice and Parenthood.
That's true.
And so now those people are going to go back to other shows or something. But I'm not saying that the ratings are going to drop because we do like the show. But I don't think it's going to stay at this level. I think it'll drop a little bit, maybe about 1 million, but it'll stay. And I predict it'll stay like in the 12 million. But I think it will still. I still think it would dominate their slot because, these other two shows I don't think can hold water to this particular show.
Vegas.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So now let's go into predictions.
Let's do it.
Predictions.
And now your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay, so after an eventful first 2 episodes, with 2 whodunits back to back, and Savino doing his thing and Lamb doing his thing, and them both clashing for 2 weeks, and then actually getting to see the story carry over into the second week. So we have like continuous soap drama type thing going on. What do you think is going to happen week 3, Nicholas?
Well, I think Mia's gonna cause some trouble, especially with this new group coming in, or with Savino's pals coming in vacationing. So I think that Mia may get into a little trouble.
Funny you mentioned Mia. I think we're gonna see her do some more stuff. She's a powerful character. It's gonna be fascinating to see her. I was also thinking originally, as in she set up perfectly to maybe get involved with Dixon Lamb. We know him as the womanizer, but then what Thaddeus said about, I believe the girl Yvonne who works at the police station, I thought maybe it makes more sense that Mia might get involved with Jack Lamb, Jason O'Mara's character. I think we might see something develop between them because I think they're both kind of like-minded people, even though they're on opposite sides. That might be further down.
Bamm?
I actually agree. I think that Jack and Mia will get together. I think the younger brother he's going to get with the ethnic girl.
ethnically ambiguous. That's what's put.
Miss Garcia.
And I think that there's gonna be I think each week the stories are always gonna be about some type of investigation or something that's going on, because Dennis Quaid's character, he's the new sheriff in town. So if he's the new sheriff in town, there has to be something that has to drive him into this new position. So we're going to constantly see things, and it may not always be murder investigation. It may be something else. So we'll always see what's going on with his character and him being the sheriff with his brothers. And then we're going to also see more of Savino and what he's doing, and how sometimes it'll parallel, and then sometimes he'll,
I can't fully remember what they said was going to happen, or the preview for next week. But what I think is going to happen and should happen is that something that Savino does directly is going to bring Lamb into them bumping heads, as opposed to Savino cleaning up old messes, and that is what's bringing Lamb into. So we'll see what happens next week. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I'm excited as usual about Vegas.
There you go. Hey, and where can they catch you, Thaddeus?
You guys catch me at Club Thaddeus on Twitter, CLUBTHADDEUS.
You can catch me at the Nick Perdue.
You can catch me at the Alex Salem.
And you can catch me at Bamm Ericsen.
No,
just Bamm Ericsen. So
right.
we want to thank you guys for watching another AfterBuzz TV recap for the new series on CBS Vegas. And
hashtag Rancher Justice.
Rancher Justice.
So we'll see you guys next week here at AfterBuzz.com.
That's Rancher Justice, absolutely.
There you go.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.